zero, and liftoff.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Mission CTRL. This is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands. And we've got an exciting golf episode, golf brand episode. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Al B. Quarles Jr., founder and CEO of BuckaFogey.com.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm glad to be working with Peralta Designs, and this is just another great opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to introduce the right-hand man here, the man on the soundboard, Mr. Jorge Pezo Candelario, our Director of Web Development.
How's it going, everybody? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today.
Excellent.
Hey, Jorge.
And you guys have gotten to work together on your. We're going to jump right into the gold here and talk about how you've been evolving your brand. It's like it's a constant beta term. It never ends. You're always expanding, improving, adapting to market conditions. And right now we're in the middle of this new website launch for you. It looks amazing. And tell our listeners a little bit about what kind of strategy goes into doing that. Because a lot of people think it's starting a brand is like set it and forget it, but there's so much more to it.
It's so much more to it, man. It's really, we're kind of, grassroots, growing it organically, learning from our mistakes, trying to build upon successes, build upon, barriers that we faced. And, I think one of the things that we realized early on and finally got to the point where it was really time was really just taking our website to the next level, reaching out to more potential, a bigger customer base, and really trying to take Bucka Fogey where I know it can go.
Yeah.
Working with you, working with Jorge has been great. It's been a great way to help make that happen.
Yeah, well, we've enjoyed working with you and your business partner and wife. And, so you've got a family business here.
Yeah.
We're going to get deeper into your story, but talk about the importance of good photography, especially when it comes to having an apparel brand, and perhaps how you started out maybe as a black golf brand, and created that amazing social media group. And now you realize, like, look, let's make this wide open so everyone can enjoy the gear from Bucka Fogey.
That's a great question, man. So I think that, initially what I learned was that marketing is a beast unto itself. And, when we began to launch, primarily using, Facebook and things like that, we began during COVID. And one of the few things that people were doing is they were online and they were playing golf, for all the golfers. And, people were posting photos, wearing our gear. They were getting the gear, they were wearing the gear, they were posting photos. And we talk about photography, that's how we began. We began with people posting photos wearing our gear, saying, hey, I like this gear,
Yeah.
And then it became a thing. And then I would post what they posted, and people wanted theirs posted, and that just kind of grew. So like right now on Instagram, we have thousands of pictures of people wearing our gear. You know what I mean? So, we've done a little more professional things since then. But initially, that's how it began. People would take photos and I would take photos and I'd be at events taking photos. And, so kind of it grew from that to, eventually getting to PGA Superstore, having to do a little more professional photography and things along that nature. But it's evolved like the company's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing, it's like what we call the user-generated content,
Yes.
And then you're tagging and you're almost having these micro-influencers.
Yes.
When did you realize that you wanted to expand it? And maybe tell us a little bit about the trips and how that all kind of plays into it.
Well, you mean expanding
the product line and maybe even like the target audience?
Right. So, I mean, I think initially, everything I've done has started with family and friends initially. Groups I was part of, the Bogey Boys Golf Club, the Philadelphia Strokers Golf Club. I started running Mancation trips, over 20 years ago. And it started with me and my buddies coming back together in our mid 30s. And we all just happened to start playing around the same time. And I've always been a go-getter. I've always been let's do shirts, let's do this, let's do that, let's start a club, so I've always been that guy. And it began to grow that way. And as it started getting, more traction, I think that, And we can get into that a little bit later, but I think I started seeing a vision of, hey, this could potentially be bigger than, 11 of us going on a golf trip, me making hats for 11 of us, me, doing a polo shirt and, doing things like that. And, I think through me being I have to coordinate. I've always been that guy. Like it has to coordinate. The hat has to coordinate with the shirt. We have to do this. We have to do that. Even if I wasn't playing well, I wanted to look good. You know what I mean? I wanted my shirts to be comfortable. I was a bigger guy. I'm 6'5". You know what I mean? I was, a little bigger than I am now. I wanted my shirt to fit well. I wanted, so and all my buddies did too. We were cut from the same mold. So it kind of started that way. And we just kind of started growing. Started growing the brand with friends and family and things like that. But it wasn't really a brand yet. It was more of the beginning of a golf culture, for lack of a better term.
Right. It sounds like it started out social almost.
It started out social. It really did.
Yeah.
It really did. It really did. Even the name started out social. Me saying Bucka Fogey on the course, and somebody said, I like that. You know what I mean? And me making this hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that one of the vintage original hats?
It really is. That's why I wore it. And me making this hat only and wearing it at a Philly Strokers event one Saturday morning, and everybody was like, I want that hat. That is a nice hat, And that kind of grew, through, conversations with my wife and my buddies and everything else. And I'm a guy who's always going to take an extra step. I'm always going to take risks. I'm always going to kind of put myself out there. So it wasn't a hard transition, honestly, but it just kind of grew through a process.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's one of those things where, you mentioned the feedback you got. It's almost like you had your own focus groups, and you could almost now. I've heard some other brands maybe do a prototype or kind of mock something up and then share it and then get feedback and then produce it. What's been your process in producing some of these new items?
Well, let me say this. I think one of the hardest things and the most significant things for any new business, if you're doing apparel or things along those lines, is manufacturing. That was the hardest process for me. Getting my manufacturing to the point where I could do it with fidelity. I could do it. It would be clean. And, I'm proud to wear it. People are really able to appreciate the product because that was a long process. You know what I mean?
Right. Your quality, like your QA, you have standards of the brand. Yeah. If a shirt's itchy or cheaply made, people are out.
That was a long process to get it to that point. I remember early on, I was inspired by a friend, Sidney Lowe. He's a friend now who did Go Low. He's another golf apparel company who was in the same space as I was in on social media and things like that. And, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I know that speaking to him and picking his brain, I think that was one of his biggest challenges. And, people come to me now and they're like, who makes your stuff? And I'm like, Bucka Fogey makes my stuff.
Right. That's IP. That's IP. You went through a lot of trials.
Do you ask Nike that? Do you call Adidas and say, who makes your stuff? Like, Bucka Fogey makes my stuff. And it's personal.
Yeah.
Because, it's going through different manufacturing companies and getting things that aren't right and getting samples and flying to shows to try to meet companies and really trying to get yourself out there. So when you get to that point and you're beginning to make these relationships with companies, because it comes down with relationships. I have companies that I've worked with in the past that still reach out to me all the time. Like, hey, when are we going? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of at another level now, and I appreciate what you've done to help me get there.
Yeah.
But, my customer base has a standard that they're expecting from me.
Yes.
And I have a standard that I'm expecting from our products. And, I have to go with, those relationships and what works the best. And, and I've got there. And I feel really good about that now. And, so, I'm not sending stuff back or complaining, oh, this shirt has a little bit of flaw on it. Or can you do this? Or can you do that? Now I get it, they get it. And we're rocking and rolling. So I'm ready.
Good, man. Well, look, that's a good break point for us to take a pause. And when we come back, we're going to hear all about how you started this amazing golf brand.
Absolutely.
Ever tried paint and sip? Well, this is Paint and Kicks. Kicksmith Studio was founded by a group of sneaker enthusiasts with the goal of sharing their love of sneakers in a new and creative way. They believe that sneakers are more than just footwear. They are a form of art that reflects self-expression and culture. Their goal is to provide a fun, inclusive, and innovative space where anyone can explore their artistic side and create something truly unique. Kicksmith Studio is one of Peralta Design's most recent brand launches, and they are a great place for team and corporate events, birthday parties, or date nights. For more information, visit kicksmithstudio.com.
We want brands.
And we're back. Please join me in welcoming once again Dr. Al B. Quarles Jr., founder and CEO of BuckaFogey.com. Now, Al, I should say Bucka Fogey Sports because you're big. You got a big umbrella.
We do a lot under the Bucka Fogey umbrella. We definitely do. I try to, keep it, fresh and new things happening. I just, created a new event for the ladies called BFF Weekend. Bucka Fogey females are best friends forever. It's called Mancation. We've been running golf trips for the guys. Mancation, I have number 21. I've been doing it for 21 years as of next May. But we started it for the ladies. That's two examples of something we do underneath the umbrella. Wow.
So tell us the story. How did this all begin?
So, I had mentioned a little earlier, I was, the term Bucka Fogey started for me, I'm not vulgar, I'm a Christian man, but I'm tenacious, focused, and driven and want to win. And I was yelling Bucka Fogey one day when I missed a putt, and it kind of stuck. That's part of it. I remember another time, I was at home and I was, cleaning up, my hats, and I had 88 golf hats laid out on my bed.
Wow.
And I had too many polo shirts to mention. And I was going through them, and I said to my wife, who's my partner, she's the boss. I was like, look at this. I was taking pictures of her, but I was like, I don't believe I have this money. She was like, you need to start a company. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what I do? And that combined with, my history, with my father being an avid golfer, my mother running trips, and me, with the Bogey Boys, when we first started, we wanted to launch an apparel brand. I had the Bogey Boys logo trademarked, and I put it on a shirt, and we went to the PGA show even. No clue what we were doing. We were in Orlando with the African American Golfers Digest with a couple shirts that I had made and a couple hats. And no clue what we were doing. We were just there. We were networking. We wanted to see what the opportunities were. And, it just kind of evolved like that. And I said, I made this hat prior to one event, and I just went and bought a hat that I liked. It's a flex fit. I like flex fit hats, which is one of our signature pieces, the flex fit. And I went and got it Bucka Fogey put on the front, and people loved it. And from there, it all kind of came together years later after the PGA show and after, it evolving and it not really working with the Bogey Boys. The Bogey Boys are phenomenal, but the gear part wasn't our niche.
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of me saying I need to find the manufacturing to help take this to the next level. And that's where the true process began, me reaching out to, people. I mean, everything from Alibaba to where a lot of people start or get gear to, trade shows, to trying to pick people's brain the same way people pick my brain, trying to be mentored, trying to get additional information, and through that process, it really, like I said, it really becomes personal because it's not an easy process. Yeah. So one of my pet peeves, honestly, is people saying to me, calling me, hey, how you doing? Can you tell me who makes your stuff? And I'm like, one of the things we do as a company is we make things for golf clubs. Yeah. I've made things for other brands. We make things. I said, Bucka Fogey makes our stuff. So, I am a manufacturer as well as, a brand, as well as, the other things that we do. I am able to help other companies to begin to grow. However, I'm not going to give away the trade secrets and say, contact John at this company because he's going to, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. So what came
But
first, the trips, and then you made the shirts, or did you make the shirts and the logo, and then the trips came?
so the trips really, we started the Bogey Boys Golf Club a little over 20 years ago with 11 guys traveling. First trip was in Williamsburg, Virginia, and I coordinated it. I reached out and I found a golf entity that helped set up the trip. And, I got one of my best friends and he grabbed a friend and my cousin grabbed a friend. Like 11 of us went. And, I got everybody's shirts, just basic shirts made, same color. And it began to grow. Now those trips, Bucka Fogey does all the shirts, does all those things. And, we average 115 to 100 golfers every year now on those trips. So that's kind of audience now as well. So on my trips, Bucka Fogey has a store. Like you can come into my condo and I got
Pop-up shop.
socks. It's a pop-up shop. So everything I do kind of comes together and to make sense.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're doing quarter zips. You sent me a few that are dope.
Absolutely.
The socks.
We love the quarter zips. The socks, the new G-Rip socks are technology. I like to, credit my daughter for the inspiration behind the new G-Rip socks. She's I'm a father of three. I have a senior at, Prairie View. I have a new freshman going to Lincoln University, and she's the athlete. She's the one she's going on a soccer scholarship. And I would go to high level soccer showcases and these ladies were wearing these soccer socks that are grip socks. And I kept saying to my daughter, and she's like, Dad, can you order me some grip socks? I'm like, grip socks? Like, what, you gonna pay $20 for a pair of socks? You know what I mean? Like a little bit, so
you could get a pack of those tube socks back in the day.
Like, why can't you wear tube socks? So I started doing my research and it started making sense. And I was like, we need to do something like that for the average athlete, for the average golfer, for somebody who also gets it, may not be a soccer player. And I reached out to my manufacturing company. I did some additional research, and there's a lot of research done on it. And I was like, this makes so much sense. So we went back and forth till we came up with a design. And, it's a comfortable sock. Your feet will not move inside your shoes. So when you're making movements, whether you're walking, I wear them to walk, when I walk my dog. You can go bowling, you could do pickleball, whatever. They're really comfortable and they keep your feet stable. So that's an example of, something that we want to be innovative. We want to kind of, I don't know any other company that's a primary golf brand that does anything along those lines. So I'd like to say we're the first.
I love it. Because, Lord knows I try to keep my left foot down. If that thing starts dancing around, I'm slicing it big time. So maybe the grip socks will help me keep that foot down.
Absolutely. So outside the shoes, if you got the right shoes on, and now that I'm aware, and we're talking about this, you'll realize inside your shoes, your feet are moving.
Yeah.
So you'll realize that. Like I never thought about it until I started wearing these socks. Now, if I don't have them on, I'm like, my feet are moving. So it's like,
Yeah, it's nice. So the innovation team is some of the family. Your daughter. And her experience as an athlete.
They're the board of directors. My family is the board of directors. We are the ones who, really, they're the ones who say that's hot, Dad, or, not. And they're wearing the socks. They love the jerseys we do. They love the T-shirts, the bucket hats, the visors. So, my kids and my family are my biggest supporters.
And who's responsible for the BF, the icon that's just like a symbol that represents Bucka Fogey?
That's another story. The BF, actually, it's really interesting you asked me that. My initial logo, which was BFS, it's the superimposed letters BFS for Bucka Fogey Sports, is what this logo is. My initial logo, I trademarked, it was approved, and FUBU, for us by us, after I already had it approved, reached out to my attorney and said, cease and desist. This logo is too closest to ours, so I had to revamp our logo. So
I can see that the F probably had that curve. Yeah.
So they had somebody looking and watching. I didn't even know that they were still really an active brand, but so we made the adjustments, And I'm glad we did, honestly, because I think that what we came out with, it's abstract, but I think it still pops.
I like
So,
it.
you know,
And you
yeah.
need that. And we encourage anyone that's coming out with a brand to have like the typographical version, but then also have an iconic version in cases where you need to do, like some swag like this.
Absolutely.
A hat, like you have it on your shirt there. And that looks like it's a button down.
Yeah, this is a polo. It's a
Okay.
button down polo shirt. Yeah.
All right, because Collars and Co is making some of these dress polos, so maybe there's a Bucka Fogey dress polo line coming down.
Yeah, but no, I know we're going to start doing some stuff for the ladies pretty soon. So now that we've added the ladies trip, we're going to start entering that. That was a hard market to break into because ladies are not as easy to fit. They're a little more particular about their fit and they're, based on different sizes and things like that. So we've kind of stayed away from that for a while, but we're ready now. We have the manufacturing process in place where, we're ready now to embark upon that as well. So we're looking to going into 2026, beginning a line for the ladies.
Awesome. Now, tell us about this new website's coming out. What is it going to do? I know we've been working on it, but I want to hear from your perspective for our listeners. I know we upgraded the Shopify platform. There's so many things you're going to be able to do. Kind of walk us through some of those feature sets.
So we're going to be able to highlight everything from our partnership and relationship with the Sifford family. Charlie Sifford, who was the first African-American on the PGA Tour in 1961. We're really blessed to be able to be close to not only the scholars and some great young people. We're on the board, we're on the scholarship committee. We work closely with the family, which is a blessing unto itself. The Siffords are some great people. And we're really able to help move that needle forward and keep that legacy alive. So we'll have a Sifford page. We do Sifford gear, from hats to jerseys to visors to things like that. So we'll be able to highlight that on our website, have some hyperlinks where you can go to the Sifford Scholars and apply. We're able to, really showcase, some of our, supporters. We're using some of our own supporters as some of the models. We're keeping it, hometown grassroots. And, these are the real Bucka Fogey. No matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, no matter where you come from, you are Bucka Fogey. One of the things I say is we all we got. And we is us. It's you. You know what I mean? It's Jorge. It's everybody who's willing to come together and help to work together and move the needle forward with that positive energy and that positive love. And, so that's what we all we got. I have a t-shirt that says we all we got. Who's we? We are you we? If you're we, then you're we. It doesn't mean anything more than that. It's just, and I think that we're able to highlight our new hats. We have new shirts coming out. It's just really going to help organize, our old website was functional, but you've really helped to take it to a level where it'll really highlight what we want to highlight. It'll really capture what we want to capture. Like, for example, you guys have put together a system where now, our Instagram, is now, feeding live on our website. So you can see some of the videos I'm posting on Instagram. You can see some of the people wearing it. You can see some reels. Like, it's really cool. So some of the things that you're doing, and I'm excited to launch it and continue evolving. Mm-hmm. But what we have already, even though we're not done, is incredible. It's more organized, and it is really, it's just well put together. Our first website was basic. It met our need. But now, looking at some other companies who are, really taking it to the next level, I think we'll be able to compete now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always stress that we all start somewhere. So you were where you were, and now you're going where you're going. You got to keep evolving.
Absolutely.
Jorge, did you want to add anything about the build?
Yeah, it's just exciting to see, like we were saying earlier in the first part of the segment, of just the evolution of your brand and adaptation. That comes with not only the brand itself, whatever the logo may be, what your brand message is, but also what the experience is to the consumer. So we're excited to take you from, like you said, a functional build to something that actually is of the caliber of the apparel that you sell. Now those two things will be in alignment, which helps to boost consumer confidence, and it's all one integrated system. So now you can go from, hey, here's this platform. Oh, hey, this also connects to social, so we can do marketing directly from here. We're capturing emails that we can also send directly from the same platform. we're able to do sales and promotions and coupons all within that one same platform, which has the highest conversion rate of any shopping cart on the internet. So we're excited to take you to that level and see what the future has in store for you.
Absolutely. And we appreciate it. We really do. I was talking to my wife about it the other day, and we truly appreciate it. We really do. You guys have been great.
Yeah, we're excited. So tell our listeners a bit about what's on the horizon. What can they get on the website? When's the new website launching? If there are any vacations coming up or any shows you're going to attend?
Well, it's a lot going on, man. It's a whole lot going on. One thing, I keep busy, man. I keep busy. We have, I have, my factories have just shipped a lot of new gear. I have like maybe 3 or 4 new polos that I should have by the end of this week. I have 3 or 4 new hats at least. I have new socks. I have a lot going on in the apparel area, so a lot of that. So we want to launch the website once all that comes in and we finalize with Jorge. We'll get that hopefully within the next week or two.
Okay.
We want to go live. Other than that, right now I have a trip. We're running a trip to Montego Bay, Jamaica, October 15th to 19th. And that's our Bogey Boys family and friends trip that Bucka Fogey runs. So, after about 15 years of running Mancations, the wives and the ladies were like, we want to go. Like, what are you doing? Like, they're coming back having so much fun. Can we be part of that? So we started our family and friends trip. And this is going to be our 4th family and friends trip. So, I'm going to take my son,
Yeah.
And, people will bring their grandchildren or bring their spouse or, and if you don't play golf, that's fine. We'll meet for lunch after we get around in. So we have that going on. We have like I said, we have our BFF Weekend, our Hurricane #1. That's going to be in May of next year. So we're preparing for that. Ladies are already signing up. We have the Mancation number 21, the 21st. I'm telling you, it's crazy. That's going to be in Myrtle Beach next May. I believe it's the 20th to the 24th. May 24th is my birthday. So that's going to be my birthday celebration.
Nice.
And, that's going to be really nice. That's going to be a phenomenal. That trip is phenomenal. It sells itself. I don't even really have to advertise that trip. The trip is great. We have that going on. And, I'm doing stuff with the Black Golf Alliance. That's another thing I do. I'm one of the co-founders of the Black Golf Alliance. So we've done everything from raise money for HBCU golf teams. We've raised money for FAMU. We've raised money for Wilberforce. We've raised money for Texas Southern. We have really, made an imprint in that space. And I'm one of the moderators and co-founders of that group. So we're constantly looking to move the needle. There's over 12,000 members on that forum on Facebook. So that's another one of my passions, to really see how we can help, our juniors, our up-and-coming players, our young guns, like I like to call them. And, but we're also, at the same time, we're really trying to get the brand out there more. We've done the PGA show as Bucka Fogey. This is 3-4 years ago. We did the PGA show. We learned a lot from that show. So we really want to expand our market. We want to expand our reach. We want to reach, right now, most of our supporters are from social media, are from, these huge groups that I run. I run a lot of groups on Facebook, primarily African Americans. We do have a lot of other races that support the brand, but not as many. I think the more we can get it out there, and like I said, we've been in the PGA Superstore, so we've been up there with the greats. We've been up there with the Nikes and Adidas and other, folks on the shelves, and we learned a lot from that process as well. So at this point, we're really just trying to see what we can do to expand not only our horizons, but our brand and our reach. We want to make sure that we can, everybody needs to, I think once we cross over, we're really going to take off.
Yeah.
Because I think initially people think Bucka Fogey, my experience is with the name Bucka Fogey, which is a playful spoonerism or a play on words or whatever, you want to call it. I say tenacious, focused, driven without being vulgar, but it's a play on words.
Yeah.
And initially it's, either that's funny or it's a novelty or it's, until they touch the shirt and they're like, yo, that's a nice shirt.
Yeah.
Like, So I think once people get past that and we're just Bucka Fogey Sports, we're not this catchy name where, they're just trying to, sell some t-shirts, and they really say, hey, this apparel brand is serious. They're really trying to put out top-notch gear. And, they really want,
top-notch gear
service
with top-notch designs too.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
other really thing that, like,
Good quality.
it just stood out. And it's so true what you're saying now. Everything that you're saying, you're kind of speaking it into existence. Going from what, like you said, how the initial perception of the brand is one thing.
Yeah.
But once you get it in your hand, once you actually see it, it completely changes what your perception is. You can see the mission. You can see how you are tenacious and driven. And I love that we get to be part of that story. So we're excited to see where this goes next.
And let me just say, so I'm like I said, I owned 70 polo shirts. I owned 88 hats. I'm touching material, and I'm saying I want a 90-10 blend for this shirt. I want this shirt to be a 90-10 blend. I don't like cotton. I want a nice little give, a nice little pull. It has to fit well. For the guy who doesn't tuck his shirt in like me, or for the PGA Pro guy who wants to tuck his shirt in and look clean, I want it to be right. You know what I mean? I want it to be right. I want you to be proud to wear it on and off the course. Wherever you're going, I want it to feel good. I want it to breathe good. So, me being that guy who's been so picky over the years with what I wear and how I do it, I bring that into the brand. You know what I mean? I look through my things and my material, and I say, okay, well, for this one, I want an 88-12 blend because I want this shirt to do this. This is a design I created. So you see the stripes on this.
Yep.
This is a design I created that I had printed on the material I wanted. So this isn't a cookie cutter design where, you say, hey, give me that and make some shirts for me. I created this. You know what I mean? I created it. I came up with the color, how I wanted the contrast to go, the name. I gave it to my factory. They do what they do. We go back and forth, and let's run with it.
Awesome.
And let me just say one more thing. A lot of what we do is limited runs. Being a smaller company, I'm not making 300 of these polo shirts. I want to, because most of the people who buy my stuff buy again.
Yeah.
So I can think of 40, 50 people that have 30 of my polo shirts. They have 40 of my hats, because once you buy, you tend to buy again.
Yep.
So to keep it fresh for them until we get bigger, I'll make 80 polo shirts. You know what I mean? I won't do 200, 300, 400 polos.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
And typically, I will not run it back. Like, I may do this, but I'll have a purple hue to it instead of black.
Right.
Or, very, very, very seldomly will I run something back. And people usually come to me later like, oh, I want that shirt. This isn't in stock anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, that gives them that feeling that the next time something comes out, they got to jump on it.
Absolutely.
And Scotty Cameron does that with his head covers, very limited release. And once they're gone, they're gone. And then there's this aftermarket exchange for some of these head covers. So
absolutely. And I keep inventory of, I have a little bit of everything. So one day, I'm going to do an auction with some of the, 70 different hats that I've already done and produced, and that it's only maybe one or two left.
Yeah. No, that sounds dope. Now, how can folks find you on social? Maybe just share the handles that you have.
Sure. So it's Bucka Fogey Sports is how you'll find us on Instagram, Bucka Fogey Sports on Facebook. Bucka Fogey is my personal page, but you also have Bucka Fogey Sports is the business page on Facebook. We are all social media. If you put in Bucka Fogey Sports, chances are you'll find us. BuckaFogey@gmail.com is our email. BuckaFogey.com is our website. And once again, the new website launch with the new gear we're hoping to have within the next 2 weeks, I think.
Probably by the time this airs.
Yeah, that's about right.
Be live.
Yeah,
Awesome, man.
Yeah, we're excited, man. We appreciate Peralta Designs and everything you've done, and your team has been great, man. And
thank you.
Yeah, Jorge, I've been sending you a lot of stuff, man. I appreciate you, man. So, you guys, I'm a fan.
All right.
Feeling as mutual.
Thank you, my brother. My Kappa, from an alpha to a Kappa. Yes,
absolutely.
We get it in here.
Absolutely, all love, man. All
love. Listen, man, thanks for being on our show. It was a tremendous story. We wish you nothing but the best, and we're so honored to be partners with you on this journey to continue to elevate your brand.
Likewise. Appreciate you guys, man.
All right, stay on for a minute. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.